Good evening, everyone. My name is Connor Kelly O'Brien. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Scranton Fringe Festival. Welcome to Fringe Focus. This is our weekly virtual podcast, if you would, where we interview leaders of culture, community, and creativity. We have a really great episode for tonight. I want to start out by apologizing. Last week we were scheduled to have Mr. Houston, the Pennsylvania State President of the NAACP chapter. Unfortunately, he had an emergency arise and we had to cancel last minute, but that's the arts and that's virtual, so we're going to keep it moving along. Before I introduce our guests, we have 4 guests tonight. We're going to be talking to 2 and then bringing 2 others in. I wanted to remind all of you to please share this live stream now. I'll wait. Just click that button down there. There you go. Thank you. Please comment live if you're watching this tonight, January 24th. I had to check the date at 7 p.m. Eastern. Please comment if you have questions for any of our guests, you just want to say hello, or you have a thought about any topic we are discussing. We only truly grow as a community when we collaborate and keep conversations alive. If you really love what Fringe does and you love our programming, you can make a tax-deductible donation by going to scrantonfringe.org/support. You can also make a little tip on Venmo at Scranton Fringe or PayPal Scranton Fringe. We don't push too heavily for donations on this show because it's more about our guests, but your donations keep our organization alive at this really critical time. And if you are a local small business or company and you'd like to become the official sponsor for Fringe Focus to reach all of our virtual audiences, I'd love to talk to you. But you know who else I'd love to talk to? I'd love to talk to Liz Faist and Dr. Catherine Richmond-Cullen. They are the assistant and executive directors of Arts In Education in Northeast Pennsylvania. They both have incredible resumes and bios. Full transparency, I happen to be one of their many less talented artists in their rotation. They've done some amazing work for years in our community, and we're going to be really focusing on a lot of the amazing work they've done digitally. And so without further ado, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage, Liz Faist and Dr. Cullen. Good evening.
Hi, Connor.
Hi, how are you two doing tonight?
Fabulously. I just have one correction.
Oh,
you are not one of the least talented artists in our project.
No, I know.
You are one of the most talented.
There's that. I was going to say, I'm not the least talented. There is that one other person. No, but thank you so much. And I'm going to try and keep my personal experiences and wonderful perspectives to a minimum, but I do just want to start the conversation with that, I am relatively new to working with you in your wonderful program. I actually technically started right when my first day of teaching was like supposed to be the day before the school shut down because of the pandemic. So I don't have a ton of reference from before COVID, but I wanted to start with, could one or both of you just in a nutshell, for those that may not know, what is Arts in Education in Northeast Pennsylvania?
Liz?
Well, Arts in Education, we work with the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts, and we have rostered artists, and we go into the community and we support arts programming and collaborating with people within the community. We work with seniors, students, teachers. So it's really everything, and it's just, and we also work with the NEIU, and we're housed out of the NEIU.
Fantastic. What are some programs that Arts In Education NEPA are currently either have done in the past or are currently working on, or maybe are working on for the future?
Well, we're almost 30 years old. We became the first partner of the Pennsylvania Arts Council in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And I was privileged to be the person chosen to manage the Northeastern Pennsylvania Partnership. There are 14 partnerships of the Pennsylvania Arts Council across the state. We are very privileged to be one of them. And we also represent the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with the Pennsylvania Partner in the Arts program, which the Fringe Festival is a recipient of grants, as is another organization with whom you're connected, with which you're
the AFA Gallery.
Oh, correct. AFA. Thank you, Connor. So we're thrilled to manage both partnerships in NEPA. And so our programming is widespread, and pretty diverse. So we, as Liz said, we have, programs for the very, very young. We have pre-K programs through adult and senior projects. One of the things I think the best parts about our project is that we collaborate with so many local organizations. We work with, I can't begin to name them because there are so many, but immediately what comes to mind: Broadway Theater of Northeastern Pennsylvania, Ballet Theater of Scranton, WVIA, the Scranton Times, the Lackawanna County Arts Council, of course, and so many other, the Eberhard Museum, don't let me forget, the Scranton Cultural Center. But throughout the 30 years, we have established an Arts and Education Advisory Board, and so many people in different organizations help us and give us great ideas and partner with us, which to Liz and I is the crux of what we do, is to help other organizations thrive and our organization through collaborative initiatives and, like you said, creative ideas.
Fantastic. Now, so before we move on, I wanted to bring up a comment we had from Joanne Arduino. So glad to see that you were focusing on all that Catherine has done for NEPA in the arts and education. She is surely the Ween, and then she corrected it by Queen. So she is giving you that crown. We also have a comment from Franco. Hello, Joanne and Franco, saying it's great to see Liz. Hello, 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 everybody. We have lots of friends watching. And yes, as you mentioned before, Dr. Cullen, there's so much to talk about. And I was looking over both of your resumes and the programming reach of Arts and Education NEPA. So I was like, I was going to do an intro for both of you, more specialized. And I was like, there's no way I can narrow this down to a paragraph or two. I did want to mention, though, that Dr. Cullen, your background includes degrees from such places as Boston College, certifications from the University of Scranton, and your PhD in educational administration from the renowned Temple University in Philadelphia. I don't spend too much time diving into this because I don't want to pick your brain too long, and that's a pun, and everyone will see why. But your philosophy, your background is not just arts and culture or administration and education. It also incorporates a large facet of science and the science of neurology. And I would love to know just a little bit about where, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the philosophy of School of Thought is brain-based learning. I would love just a little bit, or a little nugget you could give someone if they were more curious on this subject, of how does that come into play when you're talking about educating for the arts? How do those two things overlap?
Well, there is a ton of research on that. And it's interesting you bring that up. I mean, I am a teacher. That's my background. I've been a teacher since 1976. So that you can just count to see how many years. I think I'm 45 years in education now. And so throughout my time in learning about what's important, I've really delved into how the brain learns. And what we know about the arts is the arts are aligned to how the brain learns. And I like to think that we are created to be creators, that we are designed to be like the one who created. So everyone is an artist, and everyone's brain is wired for the arts. And much of what I do in the training and professional development for artists and for teachers has to do with aligning how we are created to learn in and through the arts, and how the arts are a natural fit to the human mind and our creative and ingenious spirits. So without getting too specific, that might be a way for me to say it tonight. But I do want to tell you that being a teacher is the greatest gift of my life. And of all the things that I've been blessed to be able to do, I consider myself a teacher. In fact, just for the joy of your audience, Liz was my third grade student. So when she was 8 years old, she was in my class. And all these years later, we get to work together as a team. So, that the aspect of my life that is the greatest joy is that of being called teacher. So.
That's a perfect, thank you so much. That's a perfect segue, Liz. I'm going to be coming to you in 1 second to ask you how you got involved in this organization and how and where and what kind of background you come to this work with. But before I move on, Dr. Cullen, I'm going to toot your horn a little bit for one more second. I wanted to mention that you were awarded at one point the Pennsylvania Art Administrator of the Year. You have done so much with curriculum development for countless organizations, and not just teaching others how to teach, creating artistic partnerships that, even those that are primarily based for entertainment and enrichment still seem to have a learning element at their core. What, if you could tell a group of artists that are maybe watching this that you don't currently or have not had the privilege of working with directly, what's the one, and I know this is such a big question, but what's one of the few things, how do I word this? What's a little truth that you have come to realize through arts and culture from the perspective as an artist yourself, an administrator and an educator? What is like the one fundamental truth you wished artists understood better about themselves?
Okay, well, I actually can answer that, believe it or not. That was quite a loaded question, but I do have an answer. I've learned that artists are like children. They are playful, they are joyful, they are fun. I mean, I was an elementary school teacher, so that's from whence I come. So I loved my job because I worked with innovative, creative, imaginative, young people, fresh, not jaded adults who, like myself and many others, get stuck in their ways, per se. Artists never. Always fun, always joyful, always trying something new, always innovative, always standing on the cliff, ready to jump off and jumping off and seeing what else happens. Like yourself, Connor. I admire you so much. You're so creative and so innovative. You are very childlike in your approach. So I think artists should stay very much like children, which is a compliment. We wish we could be more like children because they're risk takers and they're highly creative and imaginative humans and exploring their world.
And they're so, and I agree with you, and a childlike element that I've learned from teaching virtually this past year has been, with the exception of the kids that might be shy or have other factors at play right now, which so many do, there's such a lack of pretense that as adults we learn to put up those barriers and walls, whether it's because of ego or fear. And you mentioned how much you love and how brilliant you love working with young, innovative minds. As you mentioned, one of the young, innovative minds you worked with once upon a time was Liz Faist. Now, Liz, did your position start in the fourth grade? Did Dr. Cullen just pluck you out of third grade and said you're done?
Yes, it was third grade.
Okay.
I just think it's so strange sometimes how things happen and how life unfolds. And it's almost like you look back, I could remember being a child. I could remember being in third grade and all the great kids were in our class in our little schoolroom. And but it's just so funny how, that we get to work together now. And it's just amazing. And I do think one thing I love about being an artist is this idea of play, or, that you can explore different materials. And, it's the process that you can get lost in that process and learn as you go, or try new things. And, so that's something I think that's, I appreciate. And, I can remember, our class in third grade was fun, and we sang and we created art and we danced and we moved and we learned. And I didn't have as much stress as I did in other grades, and in third grade, because we just all, we just were having fun while we were learning in the process of learning. So a lot of the brain-based research, that Catherine talks about and teaches, and you were doing it, and you were doing all those things. And I think that's why my memories are so, fond of that time. So it's just weird that we get to work together now, it's like things come full circle, and, I'm very grateful for that.
Liz, I'm curious because I worked with some very beloved teachers from my life as an adult and out of school. And for the initial moment, I could not call them by their first name. I was like, oh my God. Because when we're children, we kind of program that position of authority and mentor and sage in our mind. Did you have any hesitation with that? Or was it were you able to dive right in and?
I was able to dive right in, but I will say the first time that I saw Catherine out, I hadn't seen Catherine since I was probably 8. And I said, oh, there's Miss Richmond. Should I go say hi? Is she going to remember me? And I was really, I didn't think she would remember me. And when I approached you, you remembered me. And I couldn't believe it because I really hadn't seen you in all those years. And so it just, but once, I think that, Catherine, you have this way about you that you allow everybody to just be themselves and to be comfortable being wherever they're at. So you're perfect to work with artists. And immediately when I saw you, it was just like, oh, Catherine. So it was an easy transition. But I think just that first step of just wondering, oh, I wonder if, you've had so many students, how are you going to remember me?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting in education because I'm sort of the technicolor version of ed admin. I didn't really fit in quite well, so I had the perfect job because I got to have a lot of freedom at the NEIU to be experimental and to create programming that was out of the box. Because truthfully, when we started this partnership with the Arts Council 30 years ago, we didn't even have an Arts Council in Northeastern PA. There was one, but it had folded. And so I have been through quite a lot in the region, but Connor, if I could just mention 3 people, I would, it's really one thing I've learned in life, and I hope everyone on this Facebook and live feed realize that. I think the most important thing is to remember your mentors. Remember the people who helped you along the way, who really guided you. And, I get a lot of credit for what's going on in arts education in this area of the state. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm humbled by my predecessors. And there are 3 women who really, really helped me. And they literally set me up. Sandra Myers, Sally Bolin, and my dear, dear friend, well, they're all dear friends of mine, but Eleanor Ganader really took an interest in what we were doing and introduced me to everyone. And so, I'm really grateful for the women who stood before me and who were the doyens of the arts in this region and beyond. So, if anyone knows Sandra or Sally or Eleanor, please tell them I'm grateful.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I agree. It is important that we remember, especially right now when we're spending so much time alone. It's such a great opportunity to reflect and even reach out. I'm sure all those people would appreciate that. We're going to introduce just to move things along a little bit, we're going to introduce 2 other artists that happen to be featured in your programming. Before we do that, though, I did want to bring up, we have Chris from PA Live. Hi, Chris. He says, come on PA Live anytime. Anything I can do in the arts, I'm all in. Thank you, Chris. You will never not regret saying that in this call. There's a million people that are going to be calling you up soon. And little known fact, Chris and I just reconnected on social media. Many a moon ago, Chris and I did our first musical together. I was the Linus to his Schroeder in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Many a moon ago when I sang. So it's so good to connect with you, Chris. Hello. But Liz, before we introduce our next 2 special artists, I wanted to mention there's a million programs that we talked about. Specifically, one of the programs I happen to be involved with also is InstaArts. And can you tell us a real quick little teaser elevator pitch of what InstaArts is? And also is there any opportunity, if I'm a parent or I'm a teen or a kid happen to be watching this and I want to learn more, anyone watching, you can go to the website at the bottom of the screen that's scrolling across. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram, www.aiEnepa.org. But Liz, what is InstaArts?
Well, first of all, going to our website, thank you for putting that information up on the bottom. That's awesome, because that's where you'd go to register for InstaArts. So it's an online arts program where you get to work with a whole variety of different artists, and it's from 3rd to 12th grade. And we break it up. So it's more of an elementary program and a high school program. So it's 3rd through 5th, and then 6th through 12th. And you get to go on and have these classes or 45 minutes where you get an artist and, you know, you are in their space, which is really cool. I mean, that's one thing that's been really fun, to be able to be in the artist studio or where the artist, you know, lives and or works. And the kids get to, you know, get lost in the process of the different mediums that, you know, that they're presented depending on what class it is. So we have all different mediums. We have writers, and we have visual artists and theater artists and music. And we always change it up. So for the spring Insta Arts, we're going to be having master classes for the high school age, and the kids, the younger group with the elementary, will still be like the mix of artists. Mm-hmm. So that way, if you are interested in theater, you can come and you can attend the theater classes. It's going to go for 8 weeks. And I don't know if Catherine, if you want to talk about PAEP with that too, and the Philadelphia artist.
We're partners with Southern Pennsylvania Arts Partners. So our artists, there are about 30 artists at this point from Northeastern, Southeastern PA, New York City. And honestly, we have artists from, because of the internet now, we can provide arts programming with artists from all over. But we feature our people, our homegrown fabulous artists, some of who've been away and returned, like yourself, Connor, New York, back to Scranton. Yes, and we do have Philadelphia as our partners. So the program is free. I think that's one thing we want to say. And there are 40-minute classes, as Liz said. And with young children, there are a variety of the arts. And with the older students, they study an art form once a week for 8 weeks. So, it's a deal. And it's after school. It's perfect timing. It is virtual. And like Liz said, it's a great opportunity for young people to learn the arts from professionals.
Yes. So if there's anyone out there that wants to learn more or wants to sign their kid up, or maybe you're in that age range yourself and you want to learn more, just go to www.aiennepa.org. And as Dr. Cullen just said, it's free, and you can take a look at all the different programming they're offering. And some of the programming they're offering by these artists, we have 2 in the studio who've been patiently waiting. Liz, would you like to introduce our 2 special guests?
Well, we have Dawn Leas joining us, and Gina Rice. And Dawn Leas is one of the artists in our program, who is a poet and a writer. And Gina is also in our program, and she's a mixed media artist. And they also do a lot of collaborating and co-teaching together. So it's exciting to have them both on.
Please welcome to the virtual stage, Dawn and Gina. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hi. Hello. Hi, this is the part where we're going to pretend like you haven't been watching this whole thing. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Oh, goodness gracious. So Dawn and Gina, visual or literary and visual perspective. As an artist myself and as a teaching artist myself, I know how bizarre, fascinating, scary, frustrating the pandemic has been to our careers and our means and methods of, connecting with people. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you find the process once you were involved? Well, first of all, also tell us how long you've been involved with AIE NEPA, and then tell me a little bit about what's it been like transitioning from the in-person to the virtual as we're approaching. God, it's hard to admit, but we're approaching a year almost, right, of this world and this current environment. Let's maybe start with Dawn.
Thank you, Connor. So I started with IE and NEPA in, I think, January of 2020. So I did have the opportunity to do a few things in person before we were sent home. And I love in person. I love the energy that it has. But I also, it was a marvel to watch Dr. Cullen just kind of say, okay, well, here's what we've been presented with, and how are we going to transition? How are we still going to get arts education to students, and how are we going to let our teaching artists do the jobs that they love to do with the students? And so for me, the process was, I wasn't scared of it. It was a learning curve to learn some new technology, but with Liz and Dr. Cullen, they just kind of gave us all of the tools and resources we needed to do, and then just gave us the freedom to create our lessons within that. So it was an easy transition. And I'm grateful that we have the technology so we can connect with students virtually until we can go back into classrooms or community centers or other in-person events.
I agree with you, and from my own personal experience, I think it's been really awesome. While we're taught very detailed how to structure, how to best get student engagement, the actual content of what we're teaching, with little tweaks here and there, is very much within our power. Something Dr. Cullen said on the first day of training that we had back in, I want to say for me, it's probably back in February, January, February before COVID, was that we are artists, we're teaching you how to teach in so many words, and that really poured with me. It was very empowering. Gina, I'd love to hear what your process and thoughts have been like pivoting, as well as maybe just give me a few examples of what do you teach in these online classes or in any incarnation.
Okay, yeah, I would love to. Well, for me, it's been a great learning experience because, as Dawn said, Dr. Cullen has given us a really nice framework to work with. So we're not winging it. We have a brain-based sort of structure that we use. So it's effective for us as the artists to set up our lessons, and also for students to receive the lessons, which takes a lot of stress and guesswork out of the equation as a teaching artist, which I really appreciate. So I can sit down and now I can focus on what do I want to do with the kids. And I do like a range of things, like we'll make, depending on what age group. If I'm working with younger kids, I try to keep it really, really fun. Like we'll do finger puppets. I'm doing a lesson on like shakers. So they're making instruments that we'll talk about designing them, and maybe we'll even play something with them. I don't know how, but usually it comes together like organically. If it's older students, then I'll do things that are a little more complex. Like maybe we'll do a weaving project, a spinning project. Like I have a drop spindle project that I'm working on. So that's going to be really exciting. And hopefully introducing them to things that they may not already know how to do. Some of what we do, because our world is getting very technology oriented, we're losing some of the handmade aspects. So I'm really excited to be able to reintroduce them to working with their hands again, because I think that's really important, and I don't want to ever see that be a lost art form ever.
I agree. I completely agree. Just a reminder to our audience, if you happen to be watching this live, we're going to be talking for a little bit longer, but now is a really good opportunity. If you have questions, please comment. If you just want to say hello, like some of our other friends have, please do so. So if you want to learn more about a particular thing we're discussing, please comment now so we can make sure we have time to get to it. Dawn and Gina, how have you, just take a minute and take a break from talking about teaching as artists. You yourselves are also artists full-time and in different art forms. Have you been working on anything special? Have you been finding unique inspirations under COVID, or have you been kind of taking a step back from that to just read and focus on your educational pursuits?
Who's going first? Who do you want to go first, Connor?
Oh, either one. I said either one.
Gina, you go first this time.
Okay.
Gina, what are you doing?
I'm working on garment construction, spinning. I have an Etsy shop. I've been adding products to that, so that's been really fun. And I also have been working on putting lessons together for students. So a little bit of both, a little bit of making and a little bit of preparing and researching for upcoming things and projects.
Fantastic. And you?
I just had a new poetry collection released, so I'm working on some new poems. Thank you to start the next collection, which I don't know, have maybe 10 or 12 poems into a new collection. I'm also working on a novel. Fiction is something I've always wanted to do, and just never took the time. And it's been exhilarating and frightening all at the same time, trying to work in a different genre and just learn a different way. But I'm having a lot of fun with it as well. So those poetry and fiction are kind of the two things that I'm working on in my art. And I also lead other online workshops for adults outside of the teaching that I do. So those two things keep me pretty busy.
Dawn and Gina, and I'll go back to Gina. Is there any websites or social media or anywhere you would want to direct people if they want to learn more about you and your career?
They can find me on Instagram and my handle on there is Vixen Vice. And that is also the name of my Etsy shop. That was my business name, Vixen Vice, because I was doing crochet wire jewelry, and some of it is really costumey and fun. So I wanted a sassy name, and that was like the sassiest thing I could come up with. So that's what I called myself on there. So yeah, which maybe not the best idea because people know my name and they have no idea they never even heard Vixen Vice. So that was probably not the best idea, but anyway, that's what I did.
Fantastic. And Dawn?
I do have an author page on Facebook. It's just Dawn Leas. And on Instagram, my handle is The Hammock Writer. When I started my Instagram account, I had just started my business, and I have a hammock in my living room, and I write in it and sometimes teach from it. So just kind of that evolved organically. And also on LinkedIn, and I also have website, thehammoocwriter.com.
Fantastic. A question I'm going to ask everyone, a question that I ask almost every guest that does this, as artists and creatives, and just as human beings, this pandemic has been really, really hard, as it has been for everyone, and we hold space for that. I'm just curious to know, outside of work and creative pursuits, what do you do for self-care? What do you do to kind of refocus on yourself and take time to breathe? What do you enjoy? What has been proven really helpful for you in this really difficult year that we've all had? I'll say personally for me, I've really found benefit I love to read, and in the beginning of the pandemic, I kind of stopped because I was angry and depressed, and rediscovering my love of books. Making it okay for me to go back and read books I've already read just because I want to, as well as new material, has been great. And I've made it a big point, and it changes week to week. As I think all of us know, when you're working so many contracts or different projects, it's hard to maintain a regular schedule. I've made a rule where at least one day a week I take off, short of an emergency, and I make that happen, even if it means having to rearrange some things. That's what I've done. I'd love to know, let's start with Dr. Cullen. What have you done? What do you love to do that kind of helps your mind and mental health?
I love interior design. So
Okay.
I completely redone my house over the year, and I keep doing that. But I wish I were an artist. I have an artist's soul, but that and I practice love. I'm in love, and I have 2 little grandchildren whom I love. So other than my own children, my boyfriend, and those 2 little babies, that's enough to fill my life. I'm grateful for my health, really.
That's fantastic. Thank you. How about Liz?
I started riding my mountain bike. So that's I'm not super coordinated, and it's not something that I did when I was younger that much. But I started riding a mountain bike, and I just love it. Hiking, being outside, it's just surprising. It's something find something new, and something that, you may not even be that good at, but you're just going to, see what happens. But just being outside, and you have to focus on the moment and being lost in the moment. And it's a way to let everything else go. And, I've taken a couple spills and somehow I've survived them and jumped up and wow, but it's something I really enjoy, or just a hike or taking a walk. It's just something, I appreciate very much. And also spending time with my children and, the family. And that's been really something that's been nice, that we always were running in such different directions. And I think everybody became a little more centered. And I know that it won't be that way. Things change. So it's with everything that's been going on, I think it's one, nice thing that I've been able to just really be grateful for.
I agree. I think that something you touched upon, which was, we've all kind of taken time to be more mindful and more, aware of the energy and time we expend, and recognizing that, our time and our energy is not an infinite resource. I mean, as brilliant and energetic as we all might be, we need time to rest. And there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I need to take a step back. You know, I think it's also, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, as much as I miss gathering, and obviously my art form is centered on the gathering of people, and I miss it dearly and I can't wait, I will say that certain meetings and like board meetings and committee meetings and things I'm involved with, I'm okay with keeping those virtual for as long as there's nothing that we have to do physical. I'm cool with doing that as long as possible. And it's not because I don't enjoy and love the work. I've just come to realize that my social energy is more limited than I think I thought it was. And that I'd rather focus on, let's get the work done, we can chat and then move on. That's been part of my process. I want to mention, if anyone's out there is watching and wants to comment, what have you done during the pandemic? What have you discovered or rediscovered? We'd love to hear. How about Gina? How about we move on to you? What have you discovered, rediscovered? What do you do for your mental health?
I am kind of a nerdy introvert, actually, so I'm embracing this time. I really enjoy being home. Like, I hate to say that, and I feel really bad because I know a lot of people are struggling, but yeah, I feel like this whole year has been such an awesome journey for me because I just work on my artwork. I'm in my space. I don't know, I'm just embracing it. I find it relaxing and rejuvenating, and yeah, I have no complaints. I feel really bad about that. I'm sorry, guys.
No, no one relishes in, there's nothing, you know, you can acknowledge others are having a difficult time, but we don't relish in someone's misery. That's great, fantastic. Dawn.
Yeah, I think I've done several things. I recommitted to a daily morning routine of meditating, reading, and journaling, which kind of centers me for my day. Getting outside as much as I can. I do live in a suburb, so whether it's walking around my neighborhood or getting a little farther out and going for a hike when it's not as cold, because I'm not a fan of the cold weather. I love hiking, running, just anything physical. And most recently, since about the end of December, doing yoga every day almost, which has really, I think, helped, center me to kind of focus on some other things. And then you mentioned that, or I think Liz did, Gina and I work collaboratively. We co-teach. And so for me, a gift of the pandemic has been just kind of letting go of this naysayer, I'm not a visual artist, and really just trying the things that Gina is teaching our groups. And I'm just really kind of getting lost in the play of that. And I'm really grateful for that. And I have 2 adult sons. And while we're close and we did communicate before the pandemic, I find myself being on the phone with them for like an hour. Or yesterday, I talked to my older son for an hour and a half on the phone, which never really would have happened. We would have just been like, okay, well, let's check in, and then we'll catch up later on in the week or whatever. So having those longer conversations with them at a time when I can't see them, one lives on the West Coast, has been a gift as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Connor, may I interrupt you 1 second about the collaborative work of Gina and Dawn? They work with senior citizens. And one of our programs that I'd love people to know about is Arts for Life. And it's a free program 3 times a week. It is on the AIE website. But if anyone listening knows someone 60 and older, or is someone 60 and older who would like to study the arts with these 2 wonderful artists, they can go on the website. And once again, it's a free program. And we're going to add more artists to the project. And we have opportunity for so many people to be learning in and through the arts, and we're just not getting the interest. So we can take so many more people. So I hope that this interview builds our audience for Arts for Life as well.
I hope so too. Actually, wherever you're watching this, whether it be Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, if you go to the comment section, Scranton Fringe just posted the direct link to Arts in Education Art for Life page. So please, please, please go click. You can just click on that link or go to the website you see at the bottom of the screen, click on programs, and then hit Arts for Life. Super easy. That is a fantastic, I think it's so cool that your programs really run the spectrum from, elementary all the way to those, in their 3rd act, let's say. That's really, really amazing. And you do work with the Broadway Theater League and the Performing Arts Conservatory, I believe. There's so many programs, there's so many ways to get involved. I also want to recommend people go to the arts. This is kind of a secondary benefit, but something I think is really cool. Go to their website, click on artists, and just look through, and this is just, of course, there's only so many they can work with at a time. Look through the incredible list of artists from our region, Philly, New York, and beyond, and learn a little bit about them. You can click on their pictures, read their bios. If they have website links, you can click on them. As an artist, I love having that up there. I've used it sometimes for a quick reference to people, like, this is more about me, if for some reason my website's not updated at the time. It's a really, really cool resource, and you can search by category of genre, of discipline of art. Really, really, really cool resource. And of course, you can be on the website and look up all the programs. We are approaching just about 45 minutes, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. My last question, and I'll try to say it as succinctly as I am capable of. Once we're out of the pandemic, and obviously that's going to be coming in stages and who knows when, but let's, in a post-COVID world, whenever that may be, specifically in this region of Northeast Pennsylvania, the greater, and we can be really broad with that geographic region, right? As much as we love our region, we have so many artists and talent. What's one thing you'd like to either see different, or what's one thing you personally are really going to focus on once we're back to somewhat version of normal? And anyone can go at any time if you're ready to talk.
Well, I would say live theater and live music. That's really hard to present, especially music over the internet. So as much as we love our artists in residence who come virtually, it'll be so great to see a Broadway show again, when working with Broadway, and we give free tickets to all the people in Arts for Life in our preschool programs. We don't have a show. So just having the orchestra play, having the live music and theater, I think it's going to be great once things get back to normal.
Anybody else have a thought?
I think for me, I in the past have been involved in live literary readings, and one had just been coming to a close right before the pandemic, and I had planned to start a new one in the Wilkes-Barre area, and of course I had to put that on hold. So I'm really excited about maybe getting back to that. So like live music, live theater, just having live literary where people can come together and hear writers of all ages, share their work on a live stage instead of just a virtual one.
Great. Liz or Gina, is there anything maybe you're going to approach differently than you did before COVID? Anything at all?
I would just say, maybe just to appreciate to appreciate things, and to just take that time, even if it's just a moment, like a deep breath or a moment or something. Things get so rushed and so busy that sometimes you just get going so fast. I think, having that time where you really appreciate what seem like the little things that, some of the things that we don't have right now.
I agree with you. I was also going to say, I'm going to be better. So as a theater artist, and anyone out there who is a theater artist, that, I've done everything from off-Broadway with 600 people in an audience to regional theater, touring, little shows where there was, 25 people, festivals where we got 25 people in the crowd. And, when you're independently producing work, it's really hard to get tied up with the numbers, and that matters. But I think I'm going to really remember, if I'm performing in a room and there's 25, 30 people in there, that's 25 or 30 more people than I was able to have in a room during COVID. So I think I'm going to try and really be cognizant of it's about the art, especially when you're performing, let that go. We'll deal with that when you're, handling the budget later. Gina, was there anything you wanted to share?
I think one thing I will continue, because this is something I've done with the pandemic, which is really get up in the morning and then have a plan. And I like that because it's easy when you have all this time to get lost or overwhelmed. Like, what am I going to do? I have all day to do it. And then you're sitting around for 5 hours thinking about what you're going to do and you don't do it. So having a list in mind, like today I'm going to get up and I'm going to work on this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this. That's been really helpful. And I'm not one to plan like that. So that's something that I've adopted that I will take with me after the pandemic. Especially being a teaching artist, it is sometimes hard to carve out time for your own work, but I have more of that time now because I'm not driving, I'm not on the road. So I have hours now that I didn't, and I use it wisely. So I'm going to keep doing that. That's a positive that I took from this. Yeah.
Fantastic. Is there anything else before we break for the night? An audience last call for comments or questions, but to my guests, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to remind people of, reinforce, or is there a topic we didn't get a chance to focus on too much?
Just to go to the website and explore the different programs and sign up. You know, we have Arts Alive coming this summer. We have Insta Arts, which is free. The Northeast Performing Arts Conservatory. So we have a lot going on, the senior programming. So even if it's not for you and you know somebody that any of these programs might be a fit for, just help spread the word. And follow our social media too. Dawn has taken over our social media and is doing an awesome job on Instagram and Facebook. And so, you know, follow and have your friends follow.
One thing I wanted to mention that I don't think we gave enough credit to is that this has really been, for artists like me and many, such a saving grace, because I think probably not without saying, but we really didn't touch on that this is all paid work for the artists. You know, this is not, I'm a big believer in volunteering and philanthropy, but especially during this critical time, it's so important to pay artists. And Fringe, we have artists that volunteer their time a lot of the time, but we're very fundamentally believe, artists deserve compensation. Hardly any other industry would you be like, well, I'll give you this. It's no, this is what I'm worth and this is what we need to do. So I want to thank Arts in Education NEPA for providing paid work to so many artists. And I know that you're growing programs, and I know you might not be looking for artists right now, but if I'm an artist in Northeast Pennsylvania and I want to learn more, or I would like to be considered maybe for future residencies when the time comes, can they go to the website as well?
Yeah. Our contact information is on the last page of the website that says contact, and it's Liz's email. So, and I think mine's there as well. So, and anyone can call us because we're so busy, thank God, and it seems to be growing. We are blessed with benefactors in this region like the Willery Foundation, the Scranton Area Foundation, and through Broadway Theater. Kudos to Frank Blasi and Broadway Theater and Joanna Arduino at Ballet Theater. Faith Golay at the Scranton Times. I mean, we have people who really work with us. Kirsten at WVIA. We are very fortunate to have funders and people who want to contribute to this so that all of you can be paid. So yes, we are looking for artists. So there is a process by which one applies, but you can certainly call us.
Fantastic. And again, even if you might not need them and it might not work out this time, it's always better to get on your radar, start a conversation. Fantastic. My guests, don't go away. When we stop the broadcast, we'll still have a time to say bye privately. To everyone watching, thank you. Thank you to everyone who shared it, liked it. I was keeping an eye on the audience. We had a nice audience base. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you so much. Next week, Sunday, January 31st, my guest will be Lindsay Taylor. Lindsay is joining us from Orlando. She is the producer of the Orlando Fringe Festival. It's the largest fringe festival in North America, and it's one of the largest theater festivals, period, in the country. And we're so, so grateful to have her, and that'll be a really fun conversation. Thank you, Dr. Cullen, Liz, Dawn, and Gina. To everyone watching, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay safe, wear a mask, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you.
May I ask something done if I can? Oh, we have comments. Oh no, we have comments from people. Oh my goodness. We have Anthony. Thank you for all what you do to enrich our community with the arts. All the best in 2021. Thank you so much. We have a Twitch comment. May I ask something? You know what? We're going to have to leave, but if you want to comment or send it to Fringe, I'll make sure it gets to the right person. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.